Hi everybody, welcome to my first Photoshop tutorial. I just want to say that I do not in any way profess to be a Photoshop expert. There are probably millions of better ways to do the things that I do, but I'm just going to show you what I do. This photo was submitted by blogger California Girl of her daughter Maya, and I think it's a really good example of a picture that was, it's really sharp and it's nicely framed. It just has a few color cast problems, and we're going to just go ahead and fix those. So the first thing that I'm going to do is duplicate the layer so that we have a record of what we started with, but I'm going to first just rename this. Why is it doing that? Layer properties, I'm going to name this original. Okay, I'm going to duplicate that by going to duplicate layer, and I'm going to call that original copy. And what I'm going to do on this copy layer is go ahead and use Photoshop's image adjustments, and I'm going to let it do auto color. And you really couldn't see that because it was covered by the menu, but I'm going to show you what it looked like before and what it looked like after. And also in the histogram, with the histogram out, you can see before and after. Okay, so that got us a little bit closer, but obviously not where we want to be yet. So I'm going to show you how you can use adjustment layers to make some corrections. Now adjustment layers are up here, not under image adjust, where you would do all of the kind of adjustments that you probably normally do on a layer, but they're under layer, new adjustment layer. And what that will do is create an additional layer with your corrections on that layer while leaving your original intact. And that lets you go back in later and adjust that correction. And that's called working non-destructively, which is mostly what we're going to do here. So I'm going to go new adjustment layer. I'm going to use curves. And I'm going to call this color correct. And I'm going to select this. See, it says sample. Oh, you can't see that. Got to move it over here. Okay. It says when you hover over this, sample image to set white point. Okay, so we want to select that little dropper. I'm going to move that off so you can see where I'm selecting. And I want to find a point on this image that I know should be white. Now it's kind of hard. There's not that many obvious white spots here. I'm going to zoom in so you can see, but I'm going to pick the, let's see, layer, new adjustment layer, curves. Okay, I'm going to pick this little area that's supposed to be white here. You can see it's kind of red, the highlight, and depending on where you click, you'll see you get different results. I kind of like the way that looks, so I'm going to leave it. I'm going to show you where I'm going to hit OK here. I'm going to zoom back out. And you can see by see how it added this, this layer here. It added a layer with our adjustment, and you can see, you can toggle that on and off. So it definitely helped, but it didn't get us where we want to be because now we have a little bit of a yellowish cast. So I'm going to go ahead and do I'm going to get rid of that layer. I'm going to go ahead and do a new adjustment layer. Make sure that you do your adjustments not to changes like, sorry, these are extraneous layers, not to your curves. Like if I went under here and did layer, new adjustment layer, I'd be adjusting the curves layer, but we don't want to do that. We want to adjust our original image here. And I'm going to go layer, new adjustment layer, and I'm going to use color balance to color correct this a little bit further. Now it's hard. I know I'm recording in a really small area, so it's kind of hard to see the whole thing, but I'm going to move this out to the side, and you'll just have to trust me when I tell you what I'm doing. And I'm going to close this up here. Now we're going to go on the bottom is a slider bar, yellow and blue. You can see that here. And clearly this image has too much yellow, so we're going to slide that slider bar out towards blue. Now there's a little too much red, so I'm going to move the top slider bar with just cyan and red over towards the cyan. And see how much nicer that is? I'm getting rid of that color cast. Now in this dialog box, you can see there's a preview that you can toggle on and off. You can go ahead and do that. You can see how that adjustment is affecting the image, and it looks great. Okay. Now notice that the default is midtones. You can also go in and click on highlights, and you use the same slider bars, and you can see if that makes any difference. Maybe get a little more red there. just play around. Hit OK. And back in our layers, you can see toggle off this on and off, and there we have a pretty well balanced color image there. It's looking much better than it did. The other thing that we might want to do is add a little contrast, although this image looks pretty good with the contrast, but we might, in most cases I do add a little bit, so there's so many different ways to do that. One of the ways that I've been using recently is by duplicating the original image, call that pop, and going into the mode for that layer. Normally it's set to normal, but if you use overlay, see that changes. Soft light actually works too. Soft light there, which actually maybe we'll use soft light. Obviously this is way too much, so what we're going to do is take the opacity down quite a bit. Okay, so at 31%, we can always go in that change up, but I'm going to see that just added a nice little pop to that image there. So I'm going to stop this tutorial here because I think this is a pretty good example of how, the image could be done right here, and there's a few more adjustments I can do, which I'm going to do in a separate video, and that's going to be a little bit of a lesson on how to use layer masking. But for now, I think I'll show you where we came from, which is why we kept that original layer here. Oh, there's a good lesson on, or a good hotkey to know is if you press Alt and then you click on a layer, it's going to show you just that layer alone. So I'm going to show you the original versus where we are now. See that? All right. See you at the next tutorial.